I think it's important that lawmakers stay until we get this done. I'm willing to stay all summer if necessary to continue to talk, compromise, and get something resolved. I think it's irresponsible to walk away from the table. We've spent 2 weeks talking about video gaming terminals and arguing over gaming expansion. And the problem with that is that in any formula you could develop, likely wouldn't raise more than $200 million. Now, big picture, the treasurer has sent us all a letter in early July saying, anticipate that we will have to borrow $3 billion to cover expenses between now and April. April's when, as most people know, you make your tax payments for the year prior, and that's when most of the revenue come in. Add to that the likelihood that the bond and the credit ratings agencies will drop our credit rating because we don't have a balanced budget. Add to that the fact that we passed a budget, a spending budget, without knowing exactly how we were going to pay for it. You have the perfect storm and the perfect calamity of where we are. So we don't have an agreement on how to pay for that we are legally obligated to pay. The governor has allowed the spending bill to become law. So unless in the next few months there's an agreement to cut that budget signed by the governor, then we have to come up with the revenue to pay for that budget. If reasonable people get in a room together and sit down, I've served as chairman of 3 committees: ethics, urban affairs, and now gaming. And in all 3 circumstances, I would sit down with my counterpart in the other chamber, we'd talk things out, we share information and ideas, and we got things done. Ethics is the prime example because the ethics committee is equal membership of both parties. And while I can't talk about, because it's confidential, some of the things we did, I can assure you that almost every vote was 8-0. In other words, we didn't leave the room until we had full agreement. That's how you get things done. I really believe that there are a lot of areas where we can collect sums of money. We might have to even go back and look at the spend number and say, we just can't get there. There are also ways to reduce future debt. We fixed the pension issue as far as how the retirement benefits are structured. Made major strides. That will start to cause savings, but we never addressed the unfunded liability. That's a debt on our children and grandchildren that we ought to be conscious of actively reducing. There's a recent study by George Mason University, a think tank, and it currently ranks Pennsylvania 45th as far as overall economic solvency. That is not something we should be proud of, and that's something we should reduce and change. If you look at a state like Indiana, Indiana's ranked top 16. They weren't before. So, you can look at models of other states. We certainly don't want to go the way of Chicago or California. They're even worse in many ways. But what the study shows is that we don't have long-term financial difficulties. We really have short-term cashes. Our trust funds and the like they're not great, but they're at least moderate. Where we rank poor is in being able to close a budget, which is obvious if you haven't balanced your budget, and then also short-term cash, and that's why the treasurer is saying it looks like we have to borrow money. So the problems are well known. We need an infusion of short-term cash. We need and we need to use that money very responsibly to reduce future taxes. But leaving is not the answer. You have to stay and grind it out.